All right, what is good? What is happening? How's everybody doing today? My name is Chuck, and welcome back to a brand new video. Welcome everybody to Modern Warfare Season 4. This is our very first look at it, and today I'm giving you guys my top 5 classes to use in Modern Warfare Season 4. Real quick before we get into it, if we could smash 4 likes on this video, that would be crazy. I know it's a pretty high like goal, but you know, I'd really appreciate that. And also, if you guys need some Call of Duty points on your account for the brand new Battle Pass, make sure you guys drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on, and make sure you guys comment down in the comment section below. And if you're part of that almost 90% of the people that are watching me but aren't yet subscribed, seriously, hit the subscribe button. It's free. So let's jump straight into loadout number 1, which is going to be the M13 assault rifle. And this is going to be starting off here with the muzzle attachment. And I'm going to tell you guys this right now, in Warzone, you want to stay off the radar as much as possible. So we're going to be running the monolithic suppressor. And this is going to be your best bet by far to be able to run on basically any sort of gun. The monolithic suppressor is absolutely amazing, and you guys seriously want to be able to run this. I mean, it's absolutely great, and you guys should definitely be using this attachment. For our second attachment, we're going to be focusing here on the Tempest Marksman barrel, and this is because this is going to give us the most range. We don't want to stick with the Tempest Mini, the Tempest Cyclone. We want the Tempest Marksman. This is going to be your best bet, like seriously. You don't want to use essentially anything else. You want the most range, damage range, recoil control possible in Warzone. You're gonna have a lot of engagements at long range, medium range, close range. So if you're taking care for all those ranges for your bullet velocity and all that stuff, this is gonna be, really good. For the next attachment, we're going with the Merc foregrip. And the reason you're running the Merc foregrip is because you can, run maybe something like, let's say, the Commando or the Tactical or the Ranger or the Operator, but this gun has really good hipfire accuracy when you use this thing, and also it just really helps with that, vertical type of recoil on this thing, and I love it. It makes it an absolute laser beam. You basically don't miss your shots. The Merc foregrip on this thing is just fantastic, and I'd recommend running the Merc foregrip. It's definitely my go-to attachment on this. Next up is going to be the 60-round magazine. So the 60-round magazine is my other attachment of choice because, you can run the 50-round. You could, if you really wanted to, run the, the blackout rounds, but there's no benefit to that, really. I would just stick with the 60-round because, obviously, people are going to tank a lot of shots in Warzone, so having more than 50 rounds in your mag is going to be better. Having that 10 rounds for 60 it's going to be awesome, and you're going to thank me later when you actually throw this on there and you're like, wow, I just saved myself those last few shots. Yeah, it's because you had 60 rounds on. So definitely go ahead and run this if possible. And for our final attachment on the M13, I'm actually going to be running the stippled grip tape, and you don't want to necessarily run the granulated grip tape or the reparized because this class setup not necessarily is focused on speed or mobility, but this attachment here is going to kind of help counterbalance some of the negatives you're going to get with running those other heavy attachments like the Tempest Marksman barrel or the Merc foregrip or something like that. So this is going to help out with that, and this is going to essentially round out our M13 attachment guide for Warzone. This is an incredible gun, and it's definitely one of the fastest killing guns in all of Warzone. Now we're going to check out a DLC gun, aka the Fennec, or the Vector as I like to call it. So this is going to have 5 different attachments, and you can swap these out in a variety of different ways, and I'll show you guys a couple different variations of it. But the first thing I have to run here is the ZLR18 deadfall barrels. This is an integrated monolithic suppressor. So essentially you don't have a muzzle attachment, you only have a barrel attachment, which eliminates you having to throw on the monolithic suppressor. Otherwise, gives you better damage range, recoil control, bullet velocity, and sound suppression at the cost for, some aimed out sight speed, some mobility, essentially that sort of jazz. So this is going to be kind of the benefit here, though, of having the monolithic integral in this deadfall, and I'll show you guys, the stuff later on as to why. So then we have next up is going to be the Merc foregrip. Because this gun has a pretty decent amount of vertical recoil, you're going to want to run the Merc just to help with that. It also helps your hipfire accuracy, and because this gun has like a 1100 round per minute fire rate, an incredibly fast fire rate, one of the fastest in the game, if not the fastest, this is going to really help you take down people at closer range, which is where this gun is going to excel. So if you're going to be running this gun, potentially throw this on as an overkill and replace the MP5 with it, because this is actually better, I think, in close range than the MP5 statistically. It also depends on if you're going to hit your shots or not, so it's kind of up to the individual user, but I'd recommend running this as an overkill gun and having this as the secondary. Next up here is going to be the 40 round drum mag, And we're not going to be using the hollow point 12 round because that's stupid. Nobody needs a 2-round burst. I don't know why they didn't learn by throwing the 2-round burst on the striker. The striker is absolute hot ass when you use a 2-round burst. So you want to have the 40-round drum mag. I mean, obviously, you're going to be taking out people. Warzone, you need those extra bullets. So having the 40-round drum mag is going to be very, very beneficial, in my opinion. And that's the reason I'd run it. Next up is going to be your stippled grip tape. And this is one of those things you can either, take off and throw on something different. And I'll show you here as to why. So you can take off the stippled grip tape and throw on something like maybe the 5MW laser. And the reason you want to throw this on is because maybe you're trying to hip fire a little bit more. So then you throw on the 5MW laser instead of your stippled grip tape. But then that even leaves you with, since now you have your ZLR, your 5MW laser, your 40-round mag, your Merc foregrip, you don't have to use a muzzle attachment, and now you have all this open stuff for either an optic, a stock, a perk, or a rear grip. But I've actually gone with sleight of hand because the reload on this thing is a little bit on the slow side, and if you're going to be taking people out at close range, having sleight of hand is going to be just very, very beneficial. So if I was you guys, I'd put on sleight of hand. I think this will do absolute wonders for you, and you're going to be taking people out super fast and super efficiently. And remember, this is like an overkill gun, so throw this on secondary as opposed to running as a primary. You can run it primary, but just letting you guys know, there's going to be other guns like the ARs that are going to outclass it. Next up is going to be everybody's favorite, the Grau 5.56, and right off the rip, we're running the monolithic suppressor just because, I mean, hey, it's the monolithic suppressor and it's the best by far, and you really should only be running this anyways on almost all of your guns. So next up on the barrels, we have two different really attachment choices here. So we don't ever want to choose the XRK or the ZLR. We want to either choose the 20.8 Nexus or the 26.4 Archangel. And the Archangel is going to give us more damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control, while you're going to get a little bit less of that on everything, but maybe just a bit more mobility with this. So it's kind of personal preference, but for me, the 26.4 Archangel is going to be my Warzone barrel, and the Nexus is going to be my multiplayer barrel, just because I won't run into those engagements that I would in Warzone in multiplayer. So you're going to be running the 26.4 Archangel, as that is going to be your, prime thing to run. Next up is going to be your underbarrel, which we're going to be using the Commando foregrip, just because the Commando foregrip it's really good at keeping that, side-to-side recoil and, your vertical just more or less, in control. You already have the Archangel, which is going to essentially eliminate a lot of your recoil anyways. So having the Commando on there is just more or less like icing on the cake. And you guys know the Grau is an absolute laser beam, so you definitely should be running this. Next up, we have the option to be able to run the 50-round magazine or the 60-round magazine. And right now I have the 50 rounds selected, and that's because of my optic of choice. And I've actually foregone running something different, and I'll show you guys a couple of different variations here if you really want to be able to set it up, in a different way. So if I'm running the 50-round magazine, I'm going to be choosing an optic, but if I'm running the 60-round magazine, I'm not going to be choosing an optic. And here's going to be the reason why. So the 50-round, I need a little bit more mobility than I would have with a 60-round. If I throw on an optic with a 60-round, it's going to be a little bit too sluggish for me. So I'm going to throw on the 50-round, and then I'm going to move up here, and I'm going to choose the VLK 3x optic, which is incredibly out of character for me, and I never choose an optic really anyways. But, if I'm not going to be choosing the VLK optic, because, listen, this thing is God tier. It really is. Like, you're picking people off from a good distance away, and pros are starting to use this, and a lot of streamers, so you guys should definitely get on the bandwagon and try this potentially before it gets nerfed. But if I'm not running the VLK optic, then I'm going to go down here, I'm going to swap this out for a 60-round magazine, and I'm going to go over here and potentially put on the 5MW laser to increase my hipfire accuracy. So this is essentially a really good setup right here, or you can take that off, go back down to the 50, and then put on the optic and go for the VLK. There's two different setups here for the Grau that I've just given you that are both equally as effective, and you can play with them different ways. I like being aggro, so sometimes I want to take the optic off, run the laser, and vice versa. It just depends on how I'm feeling on the day. Next up here is the other DLC one that came through in Season 4, aka the Galil or the CR56 AMAX, however you prefer to, say it, but I'm just calling it Galil. So first off, obviously, monolithic suppressor. It's how we do it, boys. You guys know how we do it, and we've gone through a couple of classes already. Mono suppressor, it is what it is. We're using it. Next up is going to be the barrel. So we have a couple ones here. We have the FSS Intruder, and then we have the XRK and the FSS 11.8 Squall. So these ones are interesting, but we want a lot of range. And like a lot of other ARs, you know, we're going to be using, you know, just the longest barrel possible. Damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control, 3 main characteristics when running a heavy barrel. So if you guys want that, you should definitely be running, you know, the XRK Zodiac barrel. It's just really the best you can possibly get. Then next down here, we have the Commando foregrip. And because I don't think the recoil is really all that crazy, I like running the Commando. It seems to work really well for me. You could always swap it out for the Merc, maybe the Ranger or something like that, but for me, the Commando is absolutely fantastic, and it seems to do the trick, at least for the recoil control. And if you guys want to try something else, you know, different, you're definitely welcome to do that, but for me, Commando happens to be the best option. Next up is going to be your magazine. So we have only 2 options here. We have a 45 round magazine, and then we have the M67 10 round magazine. Okay, frankly, nobody's using these other, you know, stupid magazines. We're trying to go for an extended clip here. And so we run the 45 round magazine. That's essentially your only option. I mean, nobody's ever going to use this. It's like the 2 round burst. Nobody's going to use it. So throw on the 45 round magazine, essentially just call it a day on this one. You don't really have to spend too much time thinking about this, but you know, more bullets in Warzone, essentially the better. For our final attachment, just because I love the iron sights oh so much, and I think they're really good, almost kind of like the Grau, we're gonna be going with the grip. And there's the XRK CR56 granulated, there's the stippled, and then there's the rubberized. But we just want to ADS a little bit faster, kind of similar to what we would have done with our Grau setup. And that's just, you know, we're going to choose the stippled grip tape or the stippled wrap because it's ADS and sprint to fire speed, which is essentially going to round out this setup to give you guys a really, really amazing AR. And I mean, dude, this is crazy. You should definitely take advantage of this thing. Like, it's really good. And to finish out my top 5 setups, I'm gonna be using the MP7. So I'm gonna give you guys a great MP7 class because this thing's an absolute laser beam and probably one of the best SMGs in the entirety of Warzone. So mono suppressor, like I said before, you know how we do it. It is what it is. We're doing it. So I don't have to spend too much time on this. Next up is gonna be the barrel. So we have the FFS Strike or the FSS SWAT. We're using the Recon because obviously longer barrel, more range, more bullet velocity, better recoil control. I mean, you guys know the drill. We're trying to optimize this thing to be, you know, as efficient as possible at all ranges, close, medium, and long range, especially because you can run this thing as a primary and still delete people even if they have an AR. So, I mean, that's, you know, more enough reason to actually run this thing. Then we have underbarrel, which you can run a variety of different things. So you can run the Commando, you can run the Merc, the Tactical, the Ranger, the Operator. Personally, I found good success with the Commando, Merc, and the Ranger. So this is kind of down to a preference thing. If you want more hipfire accuracy, then run the Merc. If you want just kind of a lighter, lighter weight type of foregrip, then run the Commando. If you want your in-between, which is also going to help with basically everything, then run the Ranger. I mean, it's up to you, but recently I'm really enjoying the Merc foregrip, and I mean, I just like it a lot. I think it's really solid. I like that hipfire accuracy. I can get into close quarter situations and just delete people. I mean, that's just awesome. You can't complain about that. Next up is going to be your magazine. We have the 50 round option and then the 60 round option. So we're going to choose the 60 round option just because, like I said, Warzone, a lot of people, there's going to be, you know, a lot of targets, solos, duos, trios, quads, whatever it is that you're playing. You want to have the most rounds possible on you, and 60 round is going to be the best bet. I mean, if you're hip firing, you know, you're going to be missing shots, so you might as well make up for that. Run the 10 extra bullets in your magazine. Don't ever run the base magazine. Please, for the love of God, don't ever do that. So we're running the 60 round instead of the 50. I mean, you can swap out for the 50 if you really feel like you want to, but I'm telling you right now, 60 round is your way to go. Next up is going to be the stippled grip tape. So we're actually going to be running our rear grip as our final attachment, because you could have the granulated, you could have the stippled or the rubberized, but we don't need recoil control and we don't need aim steadiness or aim lock steadiness. We just want to be able to ADS a little bit faster. This thing's the laser beam already, so why would I try to control the recoil or the aim locking steadiness even more than it already is controlled? Like, you just don't need to do it. It's just not really a thing. So that's going to wrap up our guns here for Modern Warfare Season 4. Granted, there is a couple of different guns I could have thrown in there, like the M4A1, but I'm assuming you guys can probably use the M4A1 and the Grau intermittently and just swap those out. But I just want to include the 2 new DLC weapons, especially because, you know, they're going to be getting used and they're both really, really good. So you guys could definitely use other guns. There's other ones that could arguably fall in the top 5, but I just wanted to make this, you know, including those guns specifically. But with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, smash the like on it, subscribe, those notifications turn on, comment down below, and I'll see you guys back here again tomorrow with another brand new video. Just remember to look after, I'll be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.